Hello, everybody. I'm Michelle Hutnik. I'm the Director of Research Analytics and Communications in the Office of Vice President for Research at Penn State. That's the full job title name. I'm joined here by my team. It's actually 2 tables worth, so we are. So we are well represented here. I would like to also thank Amanda Snyder for helping me. This really is a presentation by both of us. So we're talking about what the peer is at Penn State and what we expected to happen, what happened, and where we are right now. So it's just a brief history of our very long implementation. So I was just at a meeting earlier today about implementations. I think about implementations is they actually never end. So that's one point. What we thought Pure was going to be at Penn State, what Pure actually is at Penn State now, and what we want Pure to be at Penn State. So right now, overall, Pure gives us a, I'm just going to turn this. Pure gives us a holistic view of Penn State as the research enterprise at Penn State. And the focus really is not on the individual profilers' pages. So just a brief history of our long Pure implementation. We went big. So Penn State is a big university. We have over 100,000 students at Penn State and 17,000 faculty and staff in academic positions, full-time academic positions. So it's a pretty big university. And so we decided to bring on all of our campuses, colleges, and institutes all at once. So that would have been 24 campuses, 16 colleges, 165 departments, 7 institutes, 24 of our libraries, and over 5,000 researchers. I'm not sure if I'd recommend this as the way to go, but this is how we did it. And what I think when we got Pure back in 2016, I think we expected it to primarily be a place where the researchers could have an updated, really a uniform, automatically updated user profile. And we thought that the primary users would be like the research analysts and the deans and the faculty themselves. And we spent a lot of time on showing people how a properly built out profile would look like. And the major focus was on training and training faculty how to use Pure for reporting. What we actually have is different. So what's been interesting to me is that I've heard a lot of people saying, who said, we told our faculty to do this and they did it. Well, we don't tell our faculty to do anything because they won't do it. So that's just what we've learned. But this is Pure at Penn State. This is our portal. And primarily our usage focuses on using the portal and the API. So it's the information that's in Pure and searching it. So what is Pure now? It's primarily a research tool for research discovery. It's used internally within Penn State, and it's external. So our profile is public, or our portal is public. We're using it as a content management system almost. Websites, so there was a great example of how the College of Medicine and our Cancer Institute uses Pure for their website. Joan Concilio gave a great talk yesterday. Organizing facilities and centers, trying to find out who's doing what at any given center and building that into our hierarchy has been a big push. Exploring the API usage. And then overall, it's become a very valuable tool to look at Penn State as a whole institution. So Penn State is big, and finding out who's doing what at Penn State is not easy. So people at Penn State are using it to find people at Penn State. this is an example of one of our directors of a interdisciplinary research institute. She uses it all the time. I mean, interdisciplinary, if you really want to get an interdisciplinary team, it shouldn't be full of people you know. It should be full of people you don't know who are doing research in areas that you don't know, and this is how Pure helps to find them. So yesterday's keynote was talking about using industry partnerships and having universities and industry finding research and getting those connections made. And that has actually been a very big use of Pure for us. So our industry partnerships office uses Pure on a daily basis to look, you know, a company will come into their office and say, we're looking for somebody who does powdered coating technology. And the staff in that office can find it. The people, we also are promoting, or they are promoting the use of Pure to their industry partners. So for example, they had a multinational company come, and the person who came already had basically who she wanted to meet with in a list, and they were able to schedule a 2-day conference at Penn State based on who the industry partner wanted to talk to. And so it's really been a very valuable tool for them. So another thing to note is, so it's great to have these examples, but we also want to have like some quantitative measures about it. So for our Pure portal, it has been extremely search engine optimization. I had to find out what SEO meant. Amanda taught me. It's very friendly, and it's we're getting a lot of usage. So basically about 75% of the hits are coming through Google searches. And the searches are for both faculty and topics at Penn State. And I think that it's excellent for us because having Pure as a place where people are landing to look at research at Penn State, that it's updated and controlled web presence is very important. I think that I was trying to look for examples of some people's websites at Penn State, and I didn't include them. First of all, the worst example I found was the website of somebody who's really nice, so I didn't want to do that to him. And it was really embarrassing. And it was last updated in 2001. And that's the website that shows first when I do a Google search for him. So we're kind of hoping that that will evolve and that people will be starting to find Penn State research through this portal. And I think that's what's happening. So this here, the axes, are page views versus the month. So basically, if I can, so this is page views, and then by months. So this is when we first created the portal. It went live right about here, and this is September. So right now, at the beginning, we had about under 1,000 page views per month, and now we're up to, in September, we had 83,000 page views, and we just got the numbers for October, and it's over 100,000 page views. So people are using it, and that was a great example for us to be able to show to our provost the return on investment. This here shows the number of users. So in this case, we have the site users versus month. And this is when we opened it up to the public. And right now, in September, we had almost 30,000 users during that month. And in October, it would actually, we literally went off the chart. So it's up here about 38,000 users for October. So this is very encouraging for us because I think it's showing that the portal is doing what we want it to do, is people are finding Penn State research using the portal. What we're also using Pure for is, it's more like a content management in kind of a non-classical way. And so we're using it for websites. So the Cancer Institute that was showcased yesterday is a fantastic example of how Pure information can be used to support a website. We also have this is a interdisciplinary institute that have basically just included these little, your link to peer profiles. So before they tried to keep some updated research information on their page, which was never updated. So this would be an example of 2 uses of how people are using it at Penn State. We're also using Peer to organize our shared core facilities. So at Penn State, we have tremendous shared facilities, and we've made tremendous investments into our facilities. And we don't have actually one place where they can all be found and people know what they do. So we're trying to use Peer for that. So right now we have added over 290 instruments and facilities into Peer. So we want people to be able to know what we have, know what it does, know what the impact is of that instrument. So this example right here, this picture, this is the Titan scanning transmission electron microscope. So that costs $7 million right there. So we really want to know, what is it doing for Penn State? What's its impact? And we hope to be able to set up Peer so that we can do that. So right now, there's some snags doing this, because making sure that the descriptions that are used for the different instruments are actually being picked up in either the keyword search or in the fingerprint. So for example, if we want to see all our mass spectrometers, when you do a search, keyword search for mass spectrometers, they don't all come up, because we name our mass spectrometers like FA39 something, so making sure that we have those descriptions for the different facilities and the different equipment are key, because we want people to be able to find them and then use them. So the next thing what we want to do is, I think, to measure impact, we're going to have to be including the publications that are coming out of these purchases. So the next phase is we want to be able to connect the publications that have come out of the use of a certain piece of equipment. And I know that I saw a presentation from somebody in Australia who, I think they know how to do this really well. So we're hoping that this will be our next phase to show the impact of the facilities at Penn State. The other thing is the organization of centers and institutes. So doing reporting, or let's say showcasing research of a college or a department, there are structures in place at Penn State to show that. But when we have inter-college or intra-college, the interdisciplinary institutes, being able to showcase who's part of that and what do they do, especially when they have a very broad research portfolio. What we are using is, we also have SciVal, so we have these centers that can be imported into SciVal, and we can get great like word clouds of what a different center or institute is doing. We can also use the API for the centers to help like with their hierarchy and the research input. So it's been, we're getting a lot of interest from the centers. We also are very fortunate to have some very talented developers who like to play with these sort of tools and find out what they can do with them. So I know that this is really small, but what this is that we had a developer take information from Pure and look at it from a topic. Oops. That's what happens when you hold it down, the button. So basically, this is looking at keyword is genomics, the institution, so the highest one is Penn State, which faculty member publishes the most, which countries are we collaborating with the most, what are the publication types, you can select them, but which one's the highest, what language, the citations over time, and which journals. And you could do all of this from one page. And so having this sort of real snapshot picture of genomics at Penn State is pretty, it's actually a lot of fun. So he lets us play with this application. It's a lot of fun to play with. This is what we hope Pure will become at Penn State. So the next steps is that we're hoping to be able to get, right now we have our NIH grants in Pure. We hope to get NSF grants in there, maybe this winter. We'd also like to get the patent information in there, and then link the research output of individual facilities and equipment to those publications. Also, we'd like to see the coming improvements for Pure API to be able to allow for like a highly cited, to be able to identify those highly cited publications and showcase them on our website. And I'm sorry. Finally, but not, I think this is also extremely important for us, is integrating Pure with our other systems out there. So we actually have Activity Insight and ORCID, and eventually our data lake is using the information that's in Pure to be able to push and pull into our data lake, which doesn't exist yet, but will someday, we hope. This is our ultimate goal now for Pure, which is to link researchers, grants, papers, patents, facilities, and centers all together to get a comprehensive view of the collaborations, performance, and impact of all of the different elements of research, the research enterprise at Penn State. So one thing is that it takes a team for Pure, and I can't emphasize this enough. I work in the Vice President for Research Office, so we have people from the research office, from the libraries, and from the College of Medicine, all working together with our key people at Elsevier, who I consider to be also part of the team, so that would be Farah and Jen. And it really does take a team and everybody working together to pull off an implementation, an ever implementation of this size. So, thank you.
Michelle, you're perfectly on time, so we actually have a moment to take a question now from the audience, if we have one or two questions. Here, and we might need you to shout this time because the mic runners will be ready in a minute. No rush, guys.
So this is very interesting. So I'm from Northwestern University. We also have 4 facilities on our Northwestern Scholars on our Pure website. And one of the key need that we have is wanting, like you, to also connect research output to core facilities to show impact. And that's needed for multiple reasons, as well as building all the other relationships. I'm wondering, so part of what we've talked about, though, is trying to do that. Thank you. So as I mentioned, trying to connect research output with core facilities to show the impact is something of great interest to us. And what's really of interest is finding a way to do it more automatically, as opposed to somebody going through and building, manually those relationships, which.
Right.
And there are different, so in some ways this is also for the Pure team and Elsevier team, that where there are external sources that may be mentioning equipment and core facilities in, whether it's in, let's say, NIH reporter or federal reporter records or in a publication, if there would be an ability to create that linkage that we already know what the publication is, we already know the publication is connected to a person, it's that remaining piece of what facilities, what core facilities, what equipment are they using, that could be done more automatically. Same thing with connecting other kinds of data that may already exist in import sources. My question for you, sorry, that's a long prelude that we have something in common. My question for you is, have you already gotten into discussions about how you're going to build those relationships between core facilities, equipment, and research output? Thank you.
So where we started was, the first problem was getting everything into Pure. And so I think we're doing it by phases. So getting into Pure, making sure that the descriptions that are in Pure that are sufficient so that they're actually you can find it in Pure. And what we're hoping is that we can maybe have a project by a few students using AI to see if we can do it, some sort of automation for, we have the list of people who are in a center, and we know a facility belongs in a center. So can we do some sort of AI, have a project with a couple graduate students or undergrads, do it and see if we can sort of use some sort of automatic pull, because it will require some manual labor, and it'd be great if we could automate it. I don't know of a way to have it automated right now, but we want to. That's what we would like.
On. Yes. Hi. I'd just like to respond to that as well, to both of you. This is something we're looking at right now as well. So it might be interesting to know that we've been looking at integrating with SciCrunch as well. So for those of you that won't know, it's an external open source website for creating, allocating resource unique identifiers. So they have this big database of every kind of piece of equipment or resource in any kind of vague sense of the word that's referenced in a paper. So looking at how we can actually use that and the technologies that they have for extracting those and link that back to the papers that we see kind of in our repositories as well. So it's something that we're working on from both sides.
So I think it's going to take a lot of, for example, we know who used a certain piece of equipment from billing. So we can get the list of users, but then getting the list of users and their publications, but figuring out not all their publications use that. So there's a lot of ways to approach it, but it's something that we feel is definitely worth it and something we want to pursue.
Yeah, Ruth just asked me the timescale for that. It's long term. This is a project for now, but yeah, hope
Okay.
so I can report back sometime.